So basically, in the 70s, there were a lot of fun things happening. There were the hippies. There were a lot of political and cultural movements. A lot of pop stars came in, and it influenced the aesthetic, the general aesthetic of the era. New technological inventions also influenced the look and feel of 70s. So we're going to take a look at what is that look that we are talking about? What is that 70s aesthetic that we are talking about, and how this is currently relevant? So we are particularly talking about the aesthetics in imagery, and you can see these are some images from the 70s, and you can see a particular vibe to the whole thing, which is common in all these images. So we're going to take a look at what are those features which were so prominent in these images, and we are going to take a look at the current applications of this. So if you look at one of the major things in 70s was flash photography. So since these hippies used to travel a lot, they used to carry this use and throw cameras which had a flash in there. So they were actually shooting these images, and this flash went automatically along with every shutter. So to compensate for the lack of light. So what happened is that it created all the photos. It was flooded with light, and it created a dark, very dark shadow. And it sort of people always felt like a cutout, and that was a very, very, very popular look in the 70s because everybody had these kind of cameras and they were clicking photos everywhere. The next thing that you might actually notice is because of this, they were carrying cameras everywhere and they were quickly taking pictures because, unlike traditional cameras, they didn't have to wait for the light or the right moment. They could actually get an image anywhere because there was a flash there. So it will actually throw in the light and it will give you a clear image. So people were clicking randomly, like how we are doing with mobile phones right now. They were clicking like rapidly and all that to capture a moment. And often this ended up with imagery where it offered a lot of surprise candid moments. People were actually maybe in the middle of a yawn, or they might be closing their eyes, or they might be in surprise, or will be talking about something. So if you look at those images, it always had this candid surprise moments there. Definitely, there are going to be grains and blurs because these cameras they were using, they were just there was not enough adequate, like even if there was flash on it, the backgrounds often wherever there are darker places, it had the grains of the film, and that reflected in the aesthetic. Slight out of focus shots um, also were happening in these imagery. Another major thing that you might actually notice in this images is the high value reds and blues. So most this is basically a property of the films that they were using. Um, it was Kodak, Ektachrome, films, most popular ones at that time, and it had high values of reds and blues. So it always rendered, or when it was chemically washed and made into prints, it created like high saturated reds and high saturated blues, above all the other colors. So that was one traditional, one signature look of the 70s. Now, see, why is this relevant and why are we talking about 70s aesthetics right now? Is because 70s aesthetics made a comeback. And if you look at any, contemporary branding images, mockups and stuff like that, you might actually notice the similar aesthetic, which is making a round right now. So let's take a look at these images. These are not actually from the 70s. These are basically mockups, design mockups, which are made currently. And if you look at this, all the parameters that we actually spoke earlier, the flash photography, you can actually see that in pretty much all the photographs here. Candid surprise moments, which is happening. And if you look at these mock-up images, like somebody carrying a set of can of these a drink, it's not a comfortable shot, right? You know that it's going to collapse, it is going to just fall down right now. It's not something that we actually use for a mock-up. And the one with the burger, we don't see that conventionally right now currently, because half-eaten burger and these things with shadows distracting the whole imagery is not something that we actually would use currently, but this is actually making waves right now. So this particular feature set, if you understand these features, and you will be able to recreate these images, or this particular aesthetic, and you will be able to bring that into your projects. So let's take a look at how we can create these this look using the current set of tools that we have. So let's generate an image. So what you can do is you can try to find an image. So let's go to something like Unsplash and let's look for an image. Let's say flash photography. Just try and see if something is there that might actually help us. So yeah, you can see that there is a lot of flash photographs right here. The same feature of candid stuff. It's not completely 70s because these are probably photographs which are shot right now, but we can see that sort of aesthetic which is happening here. So for instance, we can see that this is, yeah, something which looks very 70s, and it's not very aesthetically appealing, but this is what we actually want, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just download this. We'll try to work with this image. Okay, there are so many interesting images here. We might be able to use it. Okay, cool. But let's do that later. All right, so we have the image that we need to work with. So let's go to Photoshop and let's see what we can do there, right? So I'm going to open this with Photoshop. Okay, meanwhile, I need one more tool. I'm going to download this right now, so because I rarely use it. I don't have Illustrator installed on my system. So I'm going to just go to Creative Cloud and install this just for this video. And I'll have to say this, that I will uninstall this immediately after this video is over, because I am not a fan of Illustrator. I don't like that being in my system. Don't know why. All right, so let's let that happen. And we will go back to Photoshop and it's here. So we don't need the entire imagery. We will basically take the crop tool and we will create a crop. It's again not that aesthetic, right? So we'll create a crop which is not actually fully there. It's sort of like weird, right? So we'll create a crop like this. So it looks like an uneven crop, right, for the whole thing. So this is good enough to start with. But what we're going to do is, as I told you, there are certain parameters that we want to include. See, automatically this is flash photography. Already this is a flash photography, so we don't have to actually worry too much about that part. But what we need to do is we need to increase the values here. So what we're going to do is we are just going to go to curves. So Control M to bring up the curves tool, and we are going to create a small S curve in here. So create a point here, create a point in here, and create a point in here. So let's create a small S curve, a very, very small one. So we created a small S curve here. So you can see that it added a little bit of contrast in here. Go to red in this. So you know how curves work. Basically, this is the input and the output value. So if you change it, it's going to affect the whole image like that. So what I want to do is I just need to increase the red values a little bit. So not too much, but a little bit. We'll do the same with blue as well. So I'm going to just increase the blue also a little bit. You can go to green, and since green doesn't play an important part, we can bring down the green, but that might actually not work with this image. But yeah, we don't want to, we'll just leave it like that. So we have this. What we are going to do here is that we want to increase now the red values and the blue values in this image. So I'm going to just press Control U to bring the hue saturation control, and we're going to go to the reds and increase the saturation. So you can see that this was a normal saturation and we increase the saturation of red here. We can do the same thing by going to blues and increase the saturation of the blues here. So create a spot where it is not breaking. So we have that. There is not much evident blue in this image, so that's not going to work. Yeah. So click OK, and we have pretty much everything, and it's producing a pretty interesting green as well. So we have all the parameters checked. Now what we need to do is we need to use this in one of our designs, right? So we need to use this image as the mockup image of our brand. So what we're going to do is we are first going to take this off from here, this food brother icon, the text from here. So to do this, we can use multiple tools, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the lasso tool and I'm going to select this area. And let's click on generator fill and just press generator fill. We have an empty one. That is pretty cool. So that worked, right? So I'm not going to worry about these images, right now. We can do that, but for this tutorial, I'm not going to worry about this. So once we have this, I'm going to save this image. So go to save as, and we'll go to desktop, save as a copy, and let's save it as a JPEG image, right? So we have a JPEG saved in here. Let's close Photoshop right now. And let's take our design, right? So we need some design to be going on top of this. So I'm just going to take this, right? So dialogues with pixels is something that I have. But the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to change the colors of this. So let's select all of this and change the color to red. Let's do this here as well. Um, red and red. Okay, we have it. Just export this. PNG, and I don't need a background. Let's download this. Okay, we have this. Now what we're going to do is, I think the Illustrator tool might be ready by now. Just open that. Create a new file. I think we'll be fine. And what we're going to do is, we're going to take both the files. So the image that we just created, which is right here, and also the logo that we have. So we have two things which are here. So we have these two things. So I'm going to scale down the logo also a little smaller. I'll just make it smaller. We want this to be on the price pack. Now, what I have done here is that I have taken my, that was a PNG image. It will not work if it's a PNG image. So what I've done here is that I have just vectorized it, just show you this example. Probably your logo would be an SVG file, or it would have been already there in Illustrator. So that would have been made more sense. But currently I had a PNG, so I had to vectorize it first. So I did image trace and then I created a vector out of it. Now you select both the stuff and then go to object mockup beta and click on make your okay, your mockup is made. And now what you can do is you can take this and you can move it around any surface that you want. So I have this and I'm just going to rotate it a little bit, and let's come here. Let's scale this down a bit. Okay, and right, and there we go. So we have the mockup um, of our logo on an image which looks sort of like 70s, and you learned about a new style and imagery that can actually add more value to your design. So I'll see you with a new video soon. Till then, bye.